Perfect. All right.
All right. Do you see us?
Mm-mm. It takes a minute to go live, where I can see it anyway.
Grand. All right. Do you see us? Ah, we're on. All right. We're good. In
All right. Can you share your screen with me and the
the multi?
yeah.
Yeah. Let me share.
So I think my audio may be doubled up.
It sounds decent to me. You're like a little. It's possible it's doubled, but it actually sounds okay to me. So.
Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I muted myself in multi, so I think we're good now.
Oh, super.
Okay.
All right. So today we are going to look at. I've got the prefab CLI here, and the thing we were thinking of doing. If I run that, then we get the sort of the prefab CLI interface, and if we say list, it'll list out all of our feature flags and configs. But it would be cooler if it said whether or not the feature flags were on or off. And so that
Right.
is, yeah.
Well, and not just on or off, because we also support sort of multivariate feature flags.
Yes.
And I will say the reason that list works the way it does right now is because we're trying to build things that are composable tools. So you might want to generate a list and then pipe that into something else. And so by default, it sort of is the simplest list that it could be.
Yep. So yeah, so we'd like to keep that. We'd like to be good citizens in the terminal interface, but then for it would also be cool to sort of get more this level of information, so you can see across the environments whether it's on or off. For complicated ones, sometimes there's like 12 different rules, and that seems like a lot. Maybe we just say something like
Right.
targeted. But if it's straightforward, then we say it. Otherwise, we can say, click here for details.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Cool.
And so this is a TypeScript project. It uses the Oak Cliff library for writing a good CLI tool.
And Jeffrey has worked on this repo and done a bunch there, but this is my first time in it, and I am not a TypeScript pro whatsoever either. So I think it would be fun to just talk a little bit about how you thought about a CLI, Oak Cliff, general setup, and yeah, I don't know what's happening. We can do it in the vein of trying to figure out how to do this, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So a lot of my thinking was informed by the I guess it's probably pronounced just CLIG. It's the CLI guidelines. It's a document that was put together by a bunch of really smart people who have thought about this a lot more than I have. So people who work at Heroku, I think, and then Salesforce and a couple other places sort of collaborated on these guidelines and thinking about how humans interact with CLIs and what's good and what's bad, and just a lot of guidelines based on that. Super great resource. I think it's cli.dev or clig.dev, but just Google clig and I think you're good to go. And so anyway, a lot of information. There we go. Thank you. Yeah, wonderful document. Absolutely should read it. It's very clever, and our CLI does not conform to it 100%, certainly, but we sort of have aspirations of conforming as much as possible, because I think it is human first output, but also written with the desire for machine composability. And so this problem that we're working on today really bookends well to that, right? Like we have this output that's perfectly fine for humans and works really well for machines, but we want to introduce a new flag so that we can get output that's even better for humans.
Yeah, and then the other thing that we've done, which I am just super thrilled about, is working for machines on a CLI can mean like a whole bunch of different flags and kind of having to remember something, but I forget them all the time, and I think I'm super excited about what we did, what you did here, which is that there are different sets of flags that work. There are like with any given CLI, there may be 1,000 different combinations of the flags, but there's typically three things I want to do. And so being able here, I can just say secret, and that will sort of give me the right flags for creating secret. And being able to search across both the description text and the flags just gives me like more ways to hit what I'm actually looking at. So I've been quite a big fan of this so far, and I don't know, I think that's a neat way to be both to be particularly human focused as well, without breaking down those things.
I was really glad that you pushed for that. I think it's worked out really well, and I think it's an interesting way to interact with things. It's not quite that AI like complete human parsing, but if you put enough context in there, the autocomplete works really well. So Oak Cliff is a library or a framework rather for writing command line tools, and it works around the concept of commands. So in our case, the command is the base command is prefab, and then the subcommand is list. And if you've used get, you're very familiar with subcommands, right? Like get add is the subcommand there, get is the main command.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, we have this command directory where all our commands live. And here's the list. And Oak Cliff just gives you some good primitives for dealing with flags and with arguments. And, the description is just a static description on the class. So that's very nice. And you can have as many examples as you want. So, Dwyer, if you run the command you just ran, but do space list and then -- help, we'll see that this is sort of the output that comes out from there. So it tells you the flags. There's some global flags. If there were arguments, it would tell you which ones were required and which ones weren't. So super useful stuff out of the box, which is very helpful. And so this is basically, we're going to be extending this class probably by adding a new flag, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
To have a new output format.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got some flags here. Oh, right. And so we actually already had the feature flags one. So if we wanted, I don't know whether we want to have it work, but if I can just do feature flags here. And that will only give me, perfect. Yep. So did we just add another one right in here?
I think so. I think as we think about productionizing this, there's an interesting question of, since it shows everything by default, configs, feature flags, log level segments, if we just add a new flag that's like, -- table or whatever, how would that work for things that weren't feature flags? Is that even a valid, permutation of the commands or of the flags? Maybe, pretty is a good one. And so maybe you could also imagine a thing where you get a table per type, right? Like there's a table of feature flags and it has all the things that are feature flaggy in it. And then here's another one for log levels. And so we group things based by that, maybe. But I think we start with just the feature flags and go from there.
And I guess, it could be, certainly the Kubernetes CLI is more like output JSON, output equals JSON, output equals CSV. You could have output equals pretty. I feel okay just starting the -- pretty for now. We could, if we wanted a CSV, we could do that. We could migrate.
Right. One of the other things that's built into this is everything has both JSON and standard out support. So for the purely machine readable stuff with the JSON, I think you're sort of left to craft your own thing at that point. So I don't know that it makes sense to do heavy targeting of that. But okay, so you've added pretty, and if we
okay, so we already support JSON output in a nice way there.
Exactly.
That's great. Ooh, okay.
So that's just good out of the box.
Good out of the box. Nice. I've added pretty, but it doesn't probably do anything.
Right. Did you check the help? I stepped away for just a moment.
The help here now?
So it should now be in the help just because you added it there, and indeed we do see it.
Okay.
Output in a pretty table. Great. And so let's just work with the assumption now that we're only going to do this for feature flags, just to keep our scope narrow.
Sure.
And so I think our command that we're going to work with here is going to be list, then dash dash pretty dash dash feature flags.
All right. I got
and
just.
we'll work to make that do what we want.
Um, is this part of the open? I got a little distracted. Is that gonna work out?
You should want to get some.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, that all just works. There actually is some stuff in the CLI about using emojis and color and all of that sort of stuff. So, again, it's a super fantastic document.
Great. Okay, so we've added that. The help looks good, and so now we've got this type. Okay, types is you were making an array here, but it looks like we can reference that flag, but then we need to output differently. So yeah, where is that going to go?
Right.
Keys
so
to
basically, yeah, keys are built up. So if you scroll up just a little bit, the keys are all of the items that are in your prefab instance. We init prefab on line 25, and then from that we fetch out the keys. Keys are the names of the flags. And then if you have specified a type as a flag, we will constrain the keys to only those that match the type before we output them. So down at the bottom of this is where we're actually writing things out. It's an OK because things succeeded. As a good command line, we want to have a good exit code, right? That indicates that things are okay. And so I think what we'll want to do, the easiest approach here is to introduce an if statement before this. So this will be the default, but if we're in pretty mode, we'll do something else. And as you noticed, you got very good autocomplete there as you were typing. So it recognized that pretty was a valid option for flags. It was a member of flags and gave you that. And so there you go. It's pretty. Just throw some flowers on it.
A ternary expression. What's a ternary expression? That's silly. Feature flags pretty. We did it.
There you go.
Okay.
That's basically a table, right? Fortunately, we're in JavaScript land. So JavaScript has the console. You probably have used console.log a lot, debugging JavaScript. There also is console.table. So if let's just lose line 52 and just do a console.table for keys there instead. And this is not what we want long term, but just to get us started, let's see what that looks like.
Ooh.
Okay, so by default, it has an index, and then it has the values. Because it's an array, this is the way that it's displayed. We're actually going to want to display an object, and our object will have all the different fields that we care about. So first, let's look at the fields and figure out what we want this object to look like. So I guess going over to the UI is probably the right choice here, if we want to kind of mimic that, right?
Yeah. So we've got the key name, the flag name, and then essentially a value for each environment.
Right. Okay. Perfect. So that tells us a few things. First, we're going to need a list of the environments, and then we'll need to be able to get the value for each of those flags within that environment.
All right, and we certainly do this over in get, but is that?
I think you may want info. So
info.
Get is going to return the value for the current environment. Just for a little background, the way that, not for you, Dwyer, but for anyone listening, the way that prefab works is it's by default scoped to your API key. So a get will show you the value that's the environment tied to the API key that you generated. Info, however, is a little smarter, and so it shows the value for the different environments, as we see here.
Ta-da.
And so the trick, though, is that we don't currently have an API endpoint that is get me all the info for this array of keys. Right now, it's a per item endpoint. So we'll have to do a little bit of less optimal code right now to make that work, but that's okay.
Got some good N+1ing. That sounds great.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you can always improve on later, but it'll get us working.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually found the right code here for getting environments. We have get environments from API. So we want to do that, and that will give us our columns.
Okay. Um, all right. So this will get us our so columns is this in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, over in info on line 49, we start a promise uh, collection. What's the right word there? Promise at all. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
it's an array of promises. I think what we can do is copy that,
Hmm.
and then over there on line 50, we're getting the config for a single key. We can update this to be um, all of the items. I think it may require a little massaging, but let's see what we can do.
All right. Um, so here, if the types, like, so if we've got any types, then go keys, filter. This is just filtering it down. Then we've got the keys. So then,
That's just getting, yeah, the
yeah.
keys that we actually want. And so I think we want to put these promises inside of our flags pretty because we only want to make these requests
Mhm.
if we need that additional detail.
Okay.
And we can just replace 55 through 58. Perfect. Um,
Okay.
so what I would probably do now, and this is just a me thing, but I think for the array here to make sense, the promise values, the best thing we could probably do is put the environments call first, and then we'll sort of spread out the additional calls to get the configs from the API for each of our keys.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
First, we're gonna go
Broadly?
get. So first, we get development, staging, and production, and then we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna iterate over the keys and do it for each of them.
Yeah, actually, let's take one step back because I think it'll be
Mm.
useful to see if you click on. I don't know how WebStorm works. Can you dig into get config from API? Is that something you can like click on and go to the definition? There we go.
Command
Okay,
B. Mm-hmm.
perfect. So this returns a not very helpful object. Well, no, actually, that's untrue. It returns a config, and the config is sort of the catch-all primitive. Feature flags in our system are configs. Log levels are configs. It's
Yeah.
all of these things roll up into this other thing. So what this will return is a promise, which is either the config that matches or undefined. Undefined is just if there's some sort of error case, we can't return something.
Mm-hmm.
So but this does not include all the information about the environments. It has an ID for the environment that a rule is related to, but not the name of that environment. So that's why we also need our environments call. So if we hop back, I think if we put our environments from API call first,
Mm-hmm. And we only
move it on up.
still inside this
Sorry,
promise
still
here.
still inside the array.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still in our promise array. And then on line 56, let's get rid of that full config because we now have environments first.
Line 56, full config.
Yep.
Oh, yep.
Perfect. And then we're not going to need the evaluation, so we can go ahead and get rid of that and get rid of, yep, perfect. And so I think what we want is to now, within our promise.all, have a get config from API for each of our feature flags. Again, this is not the ideal design. Ideally, we have an endpoint that we give it all the things, and then, it gives us back to them in one API call.
Perfect. If you want to grab the keyboard at any time to not watch me learn how to do a for loop in TypeScript, that's fine too.
Perfect. I'll hop in here.
I'll
so I'm requesting control.
I think that's a great idea. Okay.
Yeah. Please do ask questions as we go, though. Perfect. So I think what we want to do is keys.map, and that's going to give us a single key. And then, whoops. Okay. I've not used WebStorm before, so please forgive any weirdness there. We'll grab. Oh God. Also, we have Copilot happening. Okay.
Just ask it for what you want.
So let's see where this gets us. What this is now is it's mad on line 56 because we're returning this big array of things, but we're only actually capturing one of the items. That's fine. I think what we can do is do bigs here. And maybe, I think we can spread that out. Let's see if that makes it happy. No, it's still grumpy. Although it may be grumpy about what's happening on line 61. Let's see if we can figure that out first.
Look.
Suppress.
Probably more hover over the arrow there, the little the equal.
Oh, I see what it is. It's is that... Oh no, I did the wrong thing. Okay. It's this guy down here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that part's happy. I don't know if we can spread this out. Let's see. Oh no, okay, so it's just mad because it's assigned and never used, which is perfectly reasonable. And then likewise, I think environments is going to be the same problem.
It should just be irritated, not mad.
Yeah, exactly. So what we have now is an array of promises that we're awaiting all at once, and it's going to return our environments and then a config for each of the keys. This makes me sad that it's not optimal, but that's okay. We're just going to work our way through that. And so if we hop back over to info, we can kind of see how these things are used over there and probably mirror some of that.
So we've got our full config, and then
so we have a parse config function that we're calling. Let's see where that's defined at.
Parse config is down here in info.
Yes. And so what it takes is a config, environments, and a URL string. And then it goes through and figures out what each of the values are for that config in each environment. That's happening starting on line 97 in a loop here.
Yep.
And then I guess the question is, can you scroll up a little bit? I want to see what the return value of this is, like the return type, rather. Okay, so it's a JSON object. Thanks, that's fantastic. Good work, Jeffrey. If you scroll down to the bottom, maybe we can get a better sense of the shape of it.
It's an environment name. It's an environment name, and then override URL value.
Okay, perfect. So that's actually great. What we really care about for our table is the value. But this is going to give us what we need. Because this is specialized for info, there's a little bit of mixed concerns here. For instance, on line 145, it's doing some logging. Perhaps not ideal. But I think we can borrow this shape of this. So let's do the naughty thing and copy this function first.
Sure.
And then we'll probably have a better sense of what a refactoring would look like later.
Where am I? Run all the way down here?
Yeah, wherever this... We want to be still inside the class.
Oh, maybe
but not...
Oops. Sorry.
Okay.
Looks all right.
I think so. Can you scroll up some? We've got some red up towards the top that I'm not... I see it in the sidebar. There we go. Okay, so we tried to do some imports, I guess. I'm curious why it's grumpy about that. Oh, this is all... So it auto-imported these for us, but it did not sort them for us. So let's save this file. And then over in your terminal, we could just do a quick linting and make this happy. So Let me just try to remember what I named the linting. Okay, if you do yarn space run space lint, we should be good. Oh, actually, hold on.
Do I need a
don't know if that's
fix?
gonna. Yeah, you need a fix.
All right, we don't need evaluation stats. That's fine.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, we can just delete that one.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have our objects.
Mm-hmm.
Our promise is coming back. We have a function for parsing those. Um, so I think what we want to do is iterate over those now. Do you want me to type a little?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and then the client also looks undefined. So we may need to
Ah,
get a
yes, we
client.
should grab
Get a
that.
client in here.
We can get that over in info. Let's see. I don't know if it'll capture my scroll wheel. We'll see. Actually, it may be easier if you just find that real quick. I think it's this.raw client, but I've worked on several projects in the meantime, so it's fallen out of my head a little bit.
This guy
Just
here?
look for like const client. Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Sorry, there's a little bit of lag on this screen.
Oh, no worries. And then I can do that anywhere.
I would do it right before
yeah,
we
let's
use
do
it.
it in our here. Okay.
Okay, just let this screen catch up for a moment. Perfect. That looks good. Okay, so let me do a little typing then. We have our. Just clean this up. Okay. So we want to construct a new object, which represents our table. So we'll say const table. It's going to be, and then it's going to, we're just going to record. Oh boy, I'm getting some lag on the typing here.
Oh yeah.
Okay. It'll have a string and then JSON object. Yeah, I don't know if I can actually do this typing.
All right. So record string object or string JSON, and then
Right. And so what's this going to be about? Oh, it's probably this never used.
yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so what we'll do then is we're going to iterate over each of these configs, I think we called them.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if that'll scroll up a little bit. Nope. Maybe. Yes, there it goes. Okay. So we'll, oh, too far.
This configs here.
Yes, great. Thank you. I can see what I'm doing now. So configs dot for each config. And this is fun. I'm just sort of typing and hoping that I'm typing the right thing.
You gotta hit it, sort of hit it in one. It's great.
Yeah. Well, the other problem is that I don't know what WebStorm is going to insert for me, so it's a lot of guessing.
Yep.
Okay. And then what we'll do is within here, we will say, we'll just call this parsed. It's going to be parse config.
I can fix up
type.
some. I can autocorrect for you out when you're done.
Okay. That may be the right choice here. I mean, I can also dictate it. We're having some lag. I don't know what the right choice is.
Yeah, sure. But I'll type for a sec. All right.
Okay, great. So we're going to parse config. We're going to pass in the config, and then we'll pass in the environments.
We're going to parse in the config and environments. Okay. And parse config. Do I mean this parse config? Maybe?
Yes, thank you. This.parse config. And then it also wants a URL, but I don't know that we actually care about that.
Yeah.
So
I think.
let's pass in a blank string, and if it yells at us, it yells at us.
Mhm.
One more thing, if you can get rid of the paren at the end of line 79, I think that's not something we want. Okay. And then we will want to, on the next line, after line 81, let's make a new line. And we can do table, and then open square braces, and we're going to here take the config.key.
Yeah, and then.
And yeah, so this is, let's see. We're getting back, we know that parsed is an object of the environments with values, right?
Yeah. So we may, I feel like we may sort of want to, well, get these out into some sort of map or something, or
Yeah, probably so.
we could just, I
Let's
mean,
just let's do this for now and see what happens.
100%.
We do need to close up our paren after the curly brace on line 83.
Really? When are we changing? When are we closing there?
The one that starts on line 79. Oh wait, no, there should be another one there. That's the problem.
Okay.
Sorry, this got eaten in the great typing disaster of 2024. So put another paren, sorry, before config.
Ah, gotcha. All right, that's
Okay.
fine.
What did that say?
Minimum config is not assignable. Undefined.
Right. Okay. So it's possible that our promise returns an undefined if there's an error. So let's just wrap line 81 through 82 with a conditional. We'll just say if config.
Okay.
We're doing the expedited version rather than the,
Yeah.
bulletproof version right now. All right. Now what are we going for you about?
Config. I'm not sure. It seems like the same.
Okay, so we have it says we have a promise of it, but right. So on line 79, we can see that our config is a promise, which is interesting. If you scroll up a little bit, we are awaiting it. How are we ending up with? Oh, because our key is mapping. Okay, so do this. If we do, I think what we want to do is, I can actually type for a second.
Sure.
We just dot, 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 and spread that out. What should happen here is, so now we have a flat array.
Oh.
Yes, much better. And you can see that our types are happy now.
Perfect.
Lovely. So now we have a for each problem. Let's take a look at that real quick.
That is ESLint. I wonder. It wants a for dot 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 of instead of a dot for each.
Okay. Can you like magic that? Is there a just do the thing for me?
Fixing. There we are.
Okay, great. Fine by me. And so then what we want to do is console.table our table, which probably should be named better, but you know how that goes.
This table guy.
That's the kind of thing you get to make a PR and you review it yourself, and you're like, oh man, I got to come up with a good name for this.
All right. What are the chances?
All right, let's see what happens.
Whoa, not bad.
Well, good. We got objects.
We got objects. Well, and that's because we just put parsed here, which is
exactly. So it's not unexpected, but the actual shape of the table is, as you said, not bad at all.
Not bad at all. Oh, I love it.
Lovely. So, as you said, we need to manipulate the actual inner objects on parsed. So, can we find where those are actually assigned over in info?
Yeah.
Or I guess we could actually look down in our file too, because we just copied it over. But
so this
JSON there it is. Okay, so
here. Oh,
I think I just want the value.
Object. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because it
I think
evaluated it.
so. Yeah. So let's try that.
Or
Go
no,
back to where we
is this an
were.
array? What is this?
Well, it's an object, so I think what we actually want to do is probably do a little
Okay.
massaging on it beforehand.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. I think the lag's a little better now. I can try to type. So we'll do const values is going to be an object. We'll have to give that a type in a moment, but I think what we then want is parsed. Okay, now it's lagging. Parse keys for each key. Oh, I think I got. Yep. Okay. So it does. WebStorm is nice and tries to give me help there. And what we'll do then is say that values key, so this is going to be the environment name,
Mm-hmm.
is going to be parsed key dot value, I think.
So what it in my TypeScript, so table config key equals parsed value. It was grumpy about
Mm-hmm.
that because it didn't know what parsed. I think it didn't know, it was unknown, because it's just a random JSON object. And then okay, you still it'll still be grumpy about this because it doesn't have types yet either, right?
Exactly. So
Okay.
if we come up here, um, I think we're fighting with the cursor here. So parse
You
keys
go.
is of unknown type, which is fine. I think. Oh, that's actually not a thing. I think I'm mixing my metaphors here. This is one of the problems of being a polyglot is that, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes you try to write Spanish. Okay, so that's happier. Now we have a string. For each, it wants me to do this thing again. I'm not sure why that's a thing, but we'll let it go. This is mad because values doesn't have a type.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just do that. So we a record of string, and I can't type. I'm going to let you fix that. And then we'll say it's an any, which is, well, we'll make it an unknown. It's actually a like prefab config value or something like that, but I don't want to look it up right now with and distract us. Okay, so let's see where we're at now.
All right, now parsed.
This, yes, so this is also unknown. Value.value. And the problem really is that we didn't type this properly. So I'm just gonna cheat and oh, hold on. Let me look at this error one more time. Object is type unknown. Right, because parse is a JSON object. We don't know.
That parsed
Has a value. Yeah, because it's an unknown, so we don't know that it has a value. That makes sense. And then this is also going to be unknown by the transitive property there. So we'll just say, I'm going to cheat here. It'll let me. And we'll say value unknown. And we'll slap some parens around this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That looks happy now. So what's going on with this guy? Unknown is not assignable. Oh, that's right, because this is something we changed a minute ago and it doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
So this is going to be values.
Key. Values.
I think values.
What's it say?
Getting a little lag here.
No, it's being so it's real.
or maybe maybe it's just frozen.
All right.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. Yes, Lynn,
Oop,
chill out.
one more. Let's see.
Uh-oh. Well, how the heck about that?
How the heck about what?
That looks pretty good, I think.
Yeah, that looks pretty good, pretty darn good. Yeah. Um, Interesting. So C rules is what this code or the code down below is doing for when it's complicated.
Exactly. It's the
And
same as targeted in our UI right now.
yeah, maybe we can just change that for now. Here, I got C rule. Oh, because you had a
Yeah,
link there, is what was happening.
exactly. So it was
Or
something you could actually dig into.
all right.
The other thing is that console.log by or console.table by default, as you can see, it's quoting the strings, which is not it kind of makes sense in terms of when it's showing a value, like the 2003 prefab is maybe useful there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for the C rules and then now for our targeted, that's a little silly. So we probably would want to run with a custom table implementation. I just went with console.table here because for the purposes of this, it's just the fastest way to get something in this, nice
Yeah,
table
no,
format.
absolutely. What? Didn't I? Oh, that's funny. I thought I would have changed. Oh, maybe contents push. Oh, maybe I changed the wrong spot here.
Oh, you want line 120.
Yeah. I just.
Yeah, so this also has, stuff for showing overrides, which is one of the really cool things we have at prefab. You can override the value just for your API key. And that's if you're using the list feature, it'll show you the value of that override if it exists. If the overrides are complicated, it will again point you to the UI. But
And this is where the reason the URL came in here too was that these are sort of clickable, so you could click and go see it in the UI. It would take you there, and that's the URL was sort of the
100%.
URL base for that.
Yeah, and so one of the cool things about terminal applications these days is that there are mechanisms for giving schemes. Schemes is maybe not the right word there, but there's a way to encode things such that the terminal, a modern terminal, maybe not your built-in Apple terminal, but iTerm2 or Kitty or whatever, will recognize it as a link and then just let you click on it and open up your browser. So that's another thing that we could consider longer term is making these things truly clickable. So that when you want to find out why it's targeted, how it's targeted, you just click on through.
Yeah, that'd be pretty great. All
There's
right.
one thing that's interesting here, which is if you look at the UI, let's just do some compare and contrast here.
Sure. So we got big box feature, false, 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 true.
Yeah, if we look at big box feature on test, I want to see what we see there.
Big box feature test is true. Big box feature test is true.
Okay, so we have both of those. Let's look at the undefined. So, okay, so those are like new big box feature, I guess, is interesting.
New big box. There's a lot of big boxes. Which one exactly? Let's see. It's newest big box. I think is undefined in test.
There you go. Let's look at that one.
Newest big box here.
This is what happens when you do a lot of testing. Okay, so the problem here actually is that what is the problem here? I think this is probably some bad old test data. I don't know that this is a real world scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do me a favor and just hit save on that?
Yeah, I think.
And then we publish it and try again. I'm curious to see if that makes the problem go away. I think this is old test data.
Yeah, this is my test account. Yeah, there it is. New
Perfect.
rest is now. Yeah, must have been a new environment
Lovely.
added before we did that.
That's right. Yes. So this is pretty cool actually. I think Again,
Yeah.
there's some things we'd want to coerce in terms of the display, but we were able to get the data that we needed pretty easily. It is making the n+1 number of requests, which is not ideal, but that's something we can improve upon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that looks great. We got some debug logging coming out too.
Right. Which is fine. That's part of the function we copied over. So the other to do here is to refactor that out, and remove the coupling there of well, I guess it's UI. It's CLI UI, but it's still UI, right? The console.log of that debugging stuff
Yeah.
is meaningful in the list context, but it's not something we want here. So decouple that, do a little refactoring, and do a little massaging on the table, and hopefully we can get this released out so everybody can use it.
What do you think about making it a bit more REPL like? I think I come in here, like I in another effort here, but I say sort of list, and then now I'm out. It's sort of, I wouldn't mind if I said, oh wait, I want list pretty, and I was just sort of still in a REPL. Um, I guess that could just be an option like REPL or something here
Mm-hmm.
that then doesn't exit at the end and just sort of
Yeah,
puts you
I think
go.
that's super interesting. I know there are a few Git REPLs out there where you're sort of just everything is a Git command. And
Yeah,
so instead of typing Git space add, you just do add,
it's
right?
different, but
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, Tig's sort of a totally different animal,
different beast.
but I think Thoughtbot may have one of these. Anyway, I think that's an interesting concept. I don't know. I would have to think some about that. The one of the things that I like about working with you, Jeff, and I mean this most sincerely, is that you think about these things so much differently than I do. Um, I am, there's that Bane quote in the Batman movie about how I was born in the dark or whatever. You merely whatever. And that's how sort of how I feel about the terminal is like I just live in the terminal all day. My editor's in the terminal. I have to test things in the browser, but whereas your feelings about this are much more interactive than mine are, so that you drove us towards like that autocomplete sort of approach, which I think is really smart and really helpful. And so the REPL thing I think is a natural next step beyond that probably. So yes, I think it feels useful. I would want to think about it some more.
Where you live in the terminal, and I'm just trying to stuff WebStorm into the terminal now, just to. What I also appreciate is that we had this nice idea to build out this table, and I think it was about approximately 35 seconds or so after we finished that I came up with more desires
Yes.
to it. But
It's the if you give a CEO a cookie sort of thing.
I'm gonna have ChatGPT write that whole book because that is gonna sell like hotcakes. The if you give a CEO a
Yeah, and then
cookie.
just absolutely get Dolly to do the pictures and just ship it straight to the printer.
Interesting. And so this probably works for config as well.
It will. The problem is that while feature flags are very environment heavy, you actually can have things for config that is not attached to an environment. It might
Mm-hmm.
still work though. Let's actually give it a try.
Configs. I wonder if it's plural.
I hope it is.
Yep.
There are much more of
Um,
those.
yeah.
It looks like it
Oh, fun.
mostly tried to do the right thing though.
I also appreciate
Uh,
because I did I want to. I knew that there was a decent possibility that I was going to leak all of the secrets right now, but I do appreciate that that the encrypted secrets did stay encrypted in this.
well, your Stripe public key though does appear to be in there.
Yeah, but that's my publishable one.
Okay.
Yep, that's the publishable
Um,
one, and the other one should be
okay,
is
and the client
the
API
Stripe.
keys for prefab, those are safe too, right?
Yep, there. Yep. So yeah, the actual secret
We did
ones.
it. Yes. Use prefab for all your secrets, folks.
Yeah.
We're totally trustworthy. We're so trustworthy that we will dump all of our config to the terminal on YouTube.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a difference between things that are technically a good idea and are technically safe and actually a good idea. I mean, this is pretty sweet too. Certainly, there are a lot of configs that are sort of environment driven. So, working on that.
And the problem that we're seeing here is that our table output has no respect for the width of the terminal, so it's not truncating anything.
Mm-hmm.
So once we get to long enough values, it just starts wrapping. So
yeah, what I want, like TIG. So this list view came out. I sort of think of that as this view here, and then I want to be able to go up and down them like this, and then I forget actually how you get in there. Whoops, I'm not good at TIG yet.
Enter maybe.
Enter. Yeah, and then sort of this. Where
it's been
now
a while since I tigged.
This now pops up the full rule thing. So rather than go through to that URL, but here we can show all of the rules. We've got a whole right.
Yes, I would love to build that.
Now I'm
fascinating challenge.
Editing the rules right here. We can have just full, edit a rule. Do. It's your destiny.
Give a CEO a cookie.
Well, see, and in this instance, I found a total CLI nerd, and so it's give a CEO a cookie with an engineer that has sort of CLI amphetamines or something.
Someone who's addicted to baking, I guess. Yeah, no, I was making these cookies anyway, I swear. I TIG is great, and it's a really good example of a straightforward but really functional CLI GUI. I used it for a very long time. I was very happy with it.
Does it actually? And so it has at least a somewhat decent citizen here as well, in that you can do TIG. It's not solely the only time I've used it is just typing TIG and then using stuff within it. But
so I think that's a really interesting hybrid app approach. FX is another really cool tool like that, where if you just run FX and then some JSON, you're going to get this interactive playground. But you can also pass it an argument to transform or pluck out different pieces from that JSON, and then it's not interactive at all. It's composable and pipeable, and so it's really amazing that the terminal has been around so long, and we're still innovating there, and it's super cool to see.
Yeah. No, it's I am an IDE person from my heavyweight WebStorm IDEs, and I like a UI and everything. But having used, since the prefab secret stuff is CLI only, so that it's sort of zero trust, that has forced me into the CLI more often. But I've found that I sort of enjoy it. So it's pretty good. Oh man, we could put the audit trail in there, put the whole thing in there.
Oh yeah. I think really what is happening is you and I are of a certain age where a lot of the CLI tools we used were sort of machine first and somewhat user hostile at times. You could slap -- help on the end and try to figure it out as you go, but we're really in a renaissance where it's more of a human first thing. You can still get all the machine goodness out of it, but it tries to help you do the right thing rather than like yelling at you because you did the wrong thing.
Yeah, I think I've spent probably at least, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks of human time in the man LN page trying to remember which direction to do a symbolic link.
You should have a 50% chance of getting it right, but I find that I get it wrong like 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, and I guess they even have a good example here. Maybe that changed. I'm going to blame it on that. But it's I still did it backwards every time. Cool.
All right, man. Well, why don't we call it there, and we'll pick up again next time. Hopefully, we'll be able to ship this before too long, and again, everyone can enjoy that goodness.
Absolutely. Yeah, this was fun. Really did it. All right, yay. We will pick back up next time with more adventures here. But this was great. Thanks, Jeffrey. Friends. Bye.